Every night, as the world falls silent, a hidden process begins within the chambers of the human brain. For those over 60, the act of lying down is not merely a transition to rest. It is a high-stakes biological event. You go to bed feeling normal, perhaps even vital. But as the hours pass, your position on the mattress dictates the very fluid dynamics of your life force. Doctors are now uncovering a chilling pattern, a specific posture that raises stroke risk not through trauma, but through a quiet, overnight accumulation of pressure. It is a risk with no pain, no warning, and no dramatic symptoms, until the sun rises and everything has changed. This is the science of the overnight stroke. It is not about what you ate or how much you exercised today. It is about the geometry of your body while your mind is most vulnerable. In the next 24 chapters, we will deconstruct the 7 habits that turn sleep into a hazard, and reveal the ancient philosophies of longevity that Japanese centenarians used to protect their neurological health through the night. The first risk is one of the most deceptive habits in modern history: sleeping perfectly flat on your back. For decades, we have been told this is the neutral position, yet for the aging body, gravity becomes a silent adversary. When the head rests at the exact same level as the heart for 8 hours, the brain's drainage system begins to struggle. In a younger body, blood vessels are elastic. They adjust to pressure with effortless grace. But after 60, these vessels become like old parchment. They are stiffer and less responsive. Blood begins to linger in the cerebral tissue longer than it should, as the early morning hours approach, and your blood pressure naturally begins its dawn surge. The pressure inside the skull reaches a critical threshold. Lying flat is not just a choice of comfort. It is a choice to work against the natural return of blood to the heart. To understand why circulation fails us at night, we must look to the east, specifically to the blue zones of Japan. Here, longevity is not a mystery, it is a discipline. The Japanese have long understood that the body is a river, and a river that stops flowing becomes stagnant. This philosophy is embodied in Radio Taiso, a ritual of rhythmic calisthenics practiced by millions of seniors every morning to jumpstart circulation. But the secret isn't just in the movement, it's in how they prepare for the stillness of the night. Unlike the Western habit of sleeping on soft, flat surfaces that collapse the spine, traditional Japanese habits emphasize alignment that promotes qi, or energy flow. They recognize that if the neck is restricted, the mind is starved. As we analyze the risks of the prone position in our next chapter, keep this in mind: a body in alignment is a body that survives the night. While lying flat is a risk of pressure, the second danger is a risk of mechanical restriction. Many seniors adopt the prone or face-down position because it feels grounding, a habit perhaps carried from youth when the body was more forgiving. But as we age, the geometry of this posture becomes a trap. To breathe while face down, the neck must turn sharply to one side, held in a state of extreme rotation for hours. This prolonged twist does more than stiffen the muscles. It narrows the vertebral and carotid arteries, the very lifelines carrying oxygenated blood to the posterior of the brain. In a younger person, the vessels compensate. After 60, they are less flexible. Sustained compression for 6 to 8 hours reduces blood flow to a trickle, not enough to cause pain, but enough to create a silent ischemia. You don't wake up. You don't feel the deprivation, but the brain is starving in the dark. The body often tries to speak to us before a catastrophe occurs, but we must learn to translate its language. Seniors who sleep face down often report morning stiffness or a lingering dizziness that fades as the day progresses. We frequently dismiss these as orthopedic issues or just getting old. However, in the world of neurology, these are not just joint pains, they are circulation signals. If you wake up unsteady or with a foggy sensation that takes hours to clear, your brain may have spent the night fighting for oxygen. It is the same rigor required when analyzing historical events like the 1973 attack on La Moneda. We must look at the fine details, the dates, and the specific locations of the damage to understand the whole. Your morning stiffness is the incident report of your nocturnal circulation. There is a habit that begins in childhood, pulling the blankets completely over the head to feel secure, warm, or shielded from the world. For many seniors, this remains a comforting ritual. But for the brain after 60, this veil becomes a metabolic cage. As you breathe under the covers, oxygen levels slowly drop while carbon dioxide builds up. It is a gradual shift, one that doesn't trigger a gasping reflex, but keeps the brain in a state of mild hypoxia for hours. Lower oxygen levels cause the blood to thicken slightly, making it harder for a heart that is already resting to pump life to the furthest reaches of the skull. This increases the likelihood of clot formation in vessels that are already vulnerable. Security should not come at the cost of air. For those struggling with joint pain, acid reflux, or breathing difficulties, the recliner chair often feels like a sanctuary. It is supportive, it is easy to exit, and it feels safer than a flat bed. But recliners were never designed for 8 hours of neurological recovery. When you sleep upright, gravity causes blood to pool in the lower extremities. In older adults, this stagnant blood is a breeding ground for clots. When you finally stand up in the morning, or even shift positions during the night, those clots can travel upward. Furthermore, sleeping in a chair disrupts the body's natural rhythm of blood pressure regulation. Instead of a steady dip that protects the heart, pressure may fluctuate unpredictably, placing unnecessary stress on the delicate vessels of the brain. We often search for the perfect nesting position, and for many, that involves tucking an arm under the head or pillow for stability. It feels cozy, but beneath the surface, the weight of the skull is pinning down the brachial plexus and, more importantly, the vessels that assist in cranial drainage. After 60, the recovery time for compressed vessels increases significantly. What once caused a simple numb arm in your 30s now creates hours of unnecessary vascular stress. This compression creates a bottleneck. If the blood cannot leave the brain efficiently through the veins, new, oxygen-rich blood cannot enter through the arteries. It is a biological traffic jam, occurring while you dream, raising the internal pressure of your most sensitive organ. We often view a restless night as a mere inconvenience, a byproduct of a busy mind or an uncomfortable mattress. But in the analytical world of senior health, fragmented sleep is a symptom of unstable nocturnal circulation. Each time the body shifts abruptly, blood flow to the brain must recalibrate. In an aging system with stiffened vessels, these repeated fluctuations prevent the blood pressure from settling into its restorative overnight rhythm. Instead of a gentle, protective dip, the pressure spikes unpredictably, a pattern frequently observed in the hours preceding a morning stroke. This is not just tossing and turning, it is a biological alarm. To achieve the deep Zen stillness valued in Eastern philosophies of longevity, we must first stabilize the environment in which the brain rests. The final habit is perhaps the most overlooked, because it happens before the lights even go out. Going to bed immediately after a heavy meal or alcohol creates a theft of resources. To process food, the body must draw a massive amount of blood toward the digestive system, temporarily reducing the volume available for cerebral maintenance. Alcohol further complicates this by disrupting the brain's ability to regulate its own pressure. For a senior, this combination creates a perfect storm of unstable circulation during the most critical hours of the night. The danger is quiet, cumulative, and entirely preventable. As we transition from these risks to the solutions, we must remember that the safest sleep begins 3 hours before the head touches the pillow. Now, we turn toward the solutions. If the body is a river, then the side sleeping position is its most efficient channel. Medical consensus suggests that for the aging brain, this posture is the gold standard for neurological health. It encourages a neutral alignment of the spine and, most importantly, it allows gravity to assist the brain's glymphatic system in clearing metabolic waste. Think of it as a nightly deep clean for your memories and your vascular health. By placing a pillow between the knees, we stabilize the pelvis and reduce the mechanical strain on the lower back. This is not just a position of comfort. It is the foundation of a brain that restores itself effectively, every single night. For those who find side sleeping difficult, there is a safer alternative to the flat back position, the elevated supine. By raising the head just a few inches, using a firm wedge or an adjustable base, we change the physics of the night. This slight incline prevents the tongue from obstructing the airway and, crucially, prevents the pooling of blood that we analyzed earlier. It is a position of balance. In this state, the heart does not have to fight gravity to drain the brain, and the lungs do not have to fight the weight of the chest to breathe. It is a small adjustment, a few degrees of elevation, that can mean the difference between waking up with clarity or waking up in a state of emergency. Beyond a simple wedge pillow, science is increasingly pointing to a posture pioneered by aerospace engineers, the zero-gravity position. In this state, both the upper body and the legs are slightly elevated. It sounds complex, but its purpose is brilliantly simple. By aligning the heart and the knees at the exact same horizontal plane, you achieve a state of weightlessness. Pressure on the joints is eliminated, the spine rests in its most natural curve, and the cardiovascular system reaches a state of perfect equilibrium. The heart no longer fights gravity to pump blood down, nor does it struggle to pull it back up from the legs. For an aging vascular system, this is the equivalent of taking the foot off the accelerator. It is not just about avoiding back pain, it is about preserving the delicate elasticity of your blood vessels while you dream. Position is only half of the equation. The state of your blood itself dictates how easily it flows. As we age, our sensation of thirst diminishes. Many seniors go to bed slightly dehydrated to avoid midnight trips to the bathroom. However, this creates a silent hazard, hyperviscosity. Without sufficient water, the blood slowly thickens over the course of the night. By 4 a.m., your blood is at its most dense, and your blood pressure begins its natural morning surge. Pushing thick, heavy blood through stiffened, compressed vessels is the exact mechanism that leads to an ischemic stroke. The Japanese concept of hara hachibu applies not just to eating, but to moderation in all things. A small glass of water before bed does not guarantee a disrupted night, but it does guarantee that your brain receives the fluid dynamics it needs to survive until dawn. We intuitively seek warmth when we sleep, piling on blankets to ward off the chill. But thermoregulation is critical to neurological safety. The human brain requires a slight drop in core body temperature to enter deep restorative sleep. If the room is too warm or the blankets too heavy, the body must pump massive amounts of blood to the surface of the skin to cool down. This vascular diversion steals precious blood flow from the internal organs, including the brain. Furthermore, excessive heat increases nocturnal sweating, accelerating the dehydration we just discussed. In the pursuit of comfort, we accidentally create a high-pressure, low-fluid environment. Maintaining a cool bedroom, around 65 degrees Fahrenheit, is not a matter of preference. It is a clinical strategy to keep blood flow centralized and efficient. We must now address the invisible assassin of the night, sleep apnea. It is far more dangerous than simple snoring. When the airway collapses during sleep, the brain is entirely cut off from oxygen. The body panics, releasing a massive surge of adrenaline to jolt the lungs awake. For a younger heart, this is stressful. For a senior vascular system, this adrenaline spike violently constricts blood vessels and skyrockets blood pressure. This cycle can happen dozens of times an hour. Every single pause in breathing is a microtrauma to your cerebral arteries. If you sleep flat on your back, gravity forces the relaxed tissues of the throat downward, closing the vital air passage. This is why the elevated supine or side sleeping positions are not just recommendations. They are physical barriers against nocturnal suffocation. Why is all this positioning so critical? Because your brain does not actually rest at night. It goes to work. During deep sleep, the brain physically shrinks by a fraction of a millimeter. This microscopic contraction allows a specialized fluid to rush in and wash away the toxic proteins that accumulate during the day, a process driven by the glymphatic system. These are the very proteins associated with Alzheimer's and cognitive decline. But here is the stark reality. This cleaning process relies entirely on stable, unhindered fluid dynamics. If your neck is twisted, if your blood is thick, or if your pressure is spiking due to poor posture, the wash cannot complete its cycle. Protecting your sleep position is not just about preventing a stroke, it is about washing away the seeds of dementia. Physical posture is intrinsically linked to mental state. When we carry anxiety into the bedroom, our bodies release cortisol, the stress hormone. Cortisol is the enemy of vascular elasticity. It keeps the nervous system in a state of high alert, preventing the blood vessels from dilating and relaxing as they should. You may be in the perfect side sleeping position, but if your mind is racing, your arteries are physically clenched. To counter this, we look again to the blue zones. Centenarians do not just go to bed, they transition. Through prayer, meditation, or simple deep breathing exercises, they actively signal to their nervous system that the day's threats have passed. Lowering cortisol before sleep is as vital as elevating your head. It is the biochemical key that unlocks the door to safe circulation. If we analyze the evening routines of those who live past 100, a distinct pattern emerges. It is not about taking sleeping pills, it is about respecting the biological clock. In Okinawa, Japan, the evening winds down with deliberate slowness. They disconnect from harsh artificial lights, which disrupt melatonin production. They perform gentle stretching, similar to morning radio taiso, but designed to release the tension accumulated in the neck and spine. By gently opening the chest and rotating the shoulders, they mechanically prepare the physical pathways for blood to flow to the brain without restriction. This is a profound lesson. We spend so much time preparing our homes for the night, locking doors and turning off appliances. But we must also prepare the architecture of our own bodies. The environment in which you sleep directly impacts your internal pressure. Ambient light from street lamps, televisions, or digital clocks penetrates the eyelids, signaling to the brain that it must remain vigilant. This microscopic vigilance prevents the deepest stages of sleep, the exact stages where blood pressure drops to its lowest, most restorative levels. True neurological recovery requires absolute darkness. Blackout curtains or a high-quality sleep mask are not luxuries, they are medical shields. By enforcing darkness, you allow the pineal gland to flood the brain with melatonin, a powerful antioxidant that protects the vascular walls from damage. When the eyes rest completely, the arteries follow. The foundation of your sleep position is, literally, your mattress. For years, seniors have been advised to buy the firmest mattress possible for back support. But this introduces a dangerous paradox. A mattress that is too hard creates intense pressure points at the hips and shoulders. To escape this pain, the body subconsciously tosses and turns, leading to the erratic blood pressure spikes we discussed earlier. Conversely, a mattress that is too soft allows the heavy parts of the body to sink, misaligning the spine and closing off the airway. The goal is supportive contouring. The surface must yield to the shoulders to prevent pinning the arm and compressing the arteries, while keeping the spine perfectly straight. Your bed should not fight your body, it should cradle your circulation. We began this journey by looking into the shadows of the night, at the hidden dangers lurking in our most vulnerable hours. But the truth is not meant to paralyze you with fear, it is meant to arm you with power. Every evening you have a choice. You can collapse into bed haphazardly, or you can align your body like an architect. You can protect your airway, elevate your mind, and clear the path for your blood to flow freely. The habits you build tonight dictate the life you live tomorrow. If this deep dive into the biology of sleep has opened your eyes, do not let this knowledge end here. Subscribe to the channel, share this with someone you love, and tell me in the comments, what is the first change you are going to make to your sleep routine tonight? Your future self is resting on that decision.